14 years old the first time I read a comic book. That was last year. I became addicted to the Netflix show Daredevil and was determined to read all of the comic books. I thought I had read all of them until I found out that comic books never stop. After figuring out that I really enjoyed comic books, I became addicted and read some of the many Spider-Man and Batman comic books. I now have become addicted to the show Arrow, and now, of course, the comic books. According to John Jackson Miller from Comic-Con, in 2014, $935 million were made from the sales of comic books. Today, we will find our true identity by learning about the origin of comic books, the fully committed fans, and the influence comics have had on all your favorite TV heroes and villains. Traveling back in time, we know that the genre of comic books can be traced back to ancient mythological times. According to Greg Heyman and Henry John Pratt from Pearson Education, the modern hero Flash explicitly draws on the inaccuracy of the Greek god Hermes with his winged boots and helmet. Thor being a god already in Nordic mythology and comic books further shows that this genre can be traced back to several ancient mythological gods. Now, not only does this show that some of our superheroes are truly gods, especially Thor, because I mean, come on, but it shows that the format of comic books can be traced back to ancient cave paintings. There are 5 eras of comic books: the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, and finally the Modern Age. Now that's a lot, so we'll go over it section by section. First, the Golden Age. According to Scott McCloud, this is when comic books blossomed in the entertainment industry. This all occurred after Jerome Siegel and Joseph Shuster created Superman, which was soon followed by DC's Batman, which pushed crime detective stories from DC's title. Comic books being so popular in the 30s, other people began creating other characters such as Wonder Woman, The Flash, and the Green Lantern. Moving to the Silver Age. Scott McCloud says after World War II, comic books lost publishers and readers alike due to the lack of purpose. But according to Scott McCloud, the most damaging thing to comic books was Dr. Workman's book, The Seduction of the Innocent, which accused some creators of comic books that they were corrupting youth. But according to Greg Heyman, the end of the Silver Age could be marked with Captain America leaving Steve Rogers' identity as a reaction to the Secret Empire. Shifting to a less tragic topic, the Bronze Age. The Bronze Age was a shift from social issues to an emphasis on form and stylistic details. It gave creators in the United States the respect they had so desired. Sales continued to fall, so comic book creators turned to television for revenue from Saturday cartoons like Super Friends, Wonder Woman, and even Batman. Marvel then bought the rights to print Star Wars comic books, which, according to Marvel's former news editor, Jim Shooter, saved Marvel financially. Shifting to a more hopeful time for comic books, the Iron Age. This is similar to the Bronze Age when it comes to the format of comic books, but financially things began to improve. Frank Miller's Daredevil showed that not all superheroes have superpowers and not all superheroes were mentally stable. Although the evolution of comic books is a fascinating subject, the fans can be crazy. To start this wonderful topic off, we'll define a fangirl. A fangirl, according to dictionary.com, is an obsessive female fan of something technological or from popular culture. I will admit that I, myself, am a major fangirl for several shows, but before we go in depth with the fans, we need to learn who comic books were marketed for. A report from 1944 found that 91% of all girls and 94% of all boys from 6 to 11 read comic books, which hasn't changed over the years. The Atlantic Entertainment Archive believes that women make up a big portion of comic book readers, but not quite half. Marvel picked up on the fact that women like women superheroes, so they created Miss Marvel, which had an amazing success. They then realized that making the character Thor a woman could reach more of the women in the world. While many comic books are less popular with women, it only seems to be the comic books with leading male roles. Wonder Woman is a perfect example of this because women read this particular superhero. Now, whether or not this is because we're in an age where it's okay to be strong, or if women like being in control, is debatable. Marvel then realized that making new characters such as the Black Widow and She-Hulk could expand on their female readership. Although the fans can be crazy, a lot has changed, according to Janelle Aslin, a professional in the comic book industry. She says that women don't like the cover of some women's superheroes because they can be offensive, wearing inappropriate clothing, or none at all. But we go back to the crazy fangirls who wear these outfits and accept them. Movies change over time, along with comic books. Comics have evolved to being on screen more than in books, and that explains why, because comics have more action and more of an appeal to their audience. The X-Men sold 8.2 million copies, and the company continues to grow larger and larger every day. Spider-Man, The Incredibles, The Hulk, and The Batman made $91.6 million, which was a major letdown for the company. Marvel's website says that Netflix is demanding another season of Daredevil, but they won't release the amount of money they made off of it. The Walking Dead, which is my favorite show and by far one of the best comic books ever, made $326,000 on the premiere episode of season 5. Thor, being in a popular comic book, was transformed into a movie that made over $500 million internationally. Comics have evolved to mean on-screen more than books, but comics will remain as long as superheroes continue to live. In the end, comic books are just a magical adventure that change over time for their audience. Just kidding, comic books are all about the death and the violence and making sure that superheroes are physically flawless. We know that women want more to do with comic books than people believe. Comic books have had their own life struggles, and comics are now changing to fit women. Today I've told you about the origin of comic books, the fully committed fans, and the influence TV has had on all your favorite heroes and villains. So do what you want with this newfound knowledge, or you can take it and go read a comic book in a new light. So go fight a walker or turn back time, but don't get hit with kryptonite.